So a big pattern I notice on Instagram or TikTok is that you have to grind for what you want. In a way, yes, that's true, but you know, applying these principles to my life, it kind of messed me up because I thought that if I worked hard, that I would automatically get what I wanted. But that wasn't the case. The hardest workers in the world aren't the richest ever. The media PRs it to be that way. They show Musk sleeping in his office or something like that. But, they don't show the blue collar workers working like more hours than they sleep, nor do they show like the immigrant workers just working every single day nonstop for years on years or any of that. But my principle of hard work was that like I just need to do more and more and more and more, and I need to do it better and better and better. And that way I'll be a better athlete, or in my case, a soccer player. But, that wasn't the case. I was always stressing out because I was like, I'm working harder than everybody else around me, which was most likely true. But the one thing I was neglecting was that, like, hard work isn't enough to be, like, top. To be on top is to not only, like, work hard, but, like, enjoy it. And I learned that, like, the players I always seemed to be behind and the players that were always better than me were the players that enjoyed it the most. They didn't enjoy the results, they enjoyed the process and just the little things. They enjoyed going to practice and they enjoyed the game, you know? Instead of me who just enjoyed the results and enjoyed that I was working hard, so I thought that meant that, you know, I would get the results and all of this. But, when the results never came and, other people who seemed to not really play as much as me or like train as hard as me scored more than me or just performed better, like, or were just an overall better player than me, I just continued to stress myself out. And I'm sure you can apply how working harder is a kind of myth because, like, school teaches you that if you work hard enough or you do enough of this, you'll automatically be great at it. But the truth is, like, it just brings you more stress. There's a fine line between working hard and overexerting yourself. Because at the end of the day, we're humans, not robots. You don't gotta train every day for like 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, or anything. Like, social media just teaches you that, and people just say that to look cool. The small percentage of people who actually do that wouldn't even post that, first of all. And second of all, the people who actually do post that are lying. Like, they're just probably sitting at the field, like, not doing anything, or just there milking the clock. And, when you start to train a lot at first, you might see some results, which obviously keeps you doing it. Because if it's broken, why wouldn't you not fix it, right? But I feel like after a while, it kind of becomes pointless. Because you think that all these repetitions, to an extent, they do help you. But what I'm trying to say is, why do you think the best players in the world, like, not just in any field, but like, let's go basketball. Jokic, for example. He's not in the gym like 6 hours a day doing any of that. He's literally watching horse races on his phone, like, during basketball because he doesn't care. And I'm gonna get into this next thing where it's you're too attached to what you want to get better at, to the point where it's your own identity. And when you put your identity in a sport, it kind of messes up your perception of yourself, because, like, if you're not performing in that type of field you identify yourself in, you're not going to think you're impressive. And you're going to think that if I'm not performing right now, that people are going to look at me different, and that, like, I might not deserve some of these things that maybe any normal person would automatically give themselves. Sometimes you don't give yourself enough respect. Sometimes you expect yourself to work too hard. At some point, it stops being procrastination and laziness, and it becomes your body's own way and your mind's own way of saying that what you're doing for us is too much. It's too much, truly. And I learned this after going through, like, a lot of pointless hard workouts just for me to be an average player. Like, I was average because I identified myself in my sport. I found identity in my sport, and I thought that, if I wasn't playing good enough, that I didn't deserve to be treated well by other people, and I didn't deserve to take a break or anything like that. But that lack of rest and just that negative self-talk led to my downfall, to the point where I was so stressed as an athlete every single day, to the point where I quit. I quit working hard, and in a way I kind of lost myself. But, after losing myself, I kind of found an identity, not only away from my sport, but in God. Because God is consistent, and, you know, He's someone who will always help me and guide me in ways that I don't see here. And I think that if you truly are so attached to something you want to get better at, to the point where you're stressing yourself out and you're going to think that at some point I'll break through, but it never happens, and it hasn't happened for years, maybe you need to just step away for a minute. It's not giving up in any sort of way, because truly social media guilt trips you to the point where it makes you view yourself as less human. Just think of a time before social media where everything in your life was so simple. You didn't have to wake up at 6 a.m. and do cold plunges, nor did you have to take contrast showers or work out twice a day and hit the gym and do plyometrics and all of this stuff. No, you just had fun. And, like, the people who are the best in their field are never the ones who are waking up at 6 a.m. or any of that. I mean, you can argue with me all you want, but the most effortless athletes and the ones who enjoy, and you can see in their face that, like, this is meant for them, and, like, they find a genuine sense of belonging in what they do, are the athletes who give themselves the most rest, who let themselves sleep, who prioritize, like, having fun while at the same time, like, competing at a high level. It's never the athletes who stress themselves out because they think they're underperforming, overperforming, they're not making their parents proud or something like that. But, I feel like for so many years, I always blamed myself for not just being in a higher and better environment than I should have been. But, after stressing myself out and trying to work my, like, legs out, or work my legs off, I guess, because, like, but after so many years of just overtraining, I just started to realize that I was the best version of myself when I allowed myself to have the most rest. Whenever I was training a lot, I would always feel tired and stressed at practice because I was like, oh, this training's not paying off or something like that. But then, after I was able to get some rest and see that, like, all along I was good enough. And I was like, I've always had this skill and talent. I never needed any of this extra practice to prove I had it in me. Once I started applying that mindset, I started to like allow myself to enjoy more, because I thought that if I wasn't working hard in my extra practices, or even when I do go to the field now, instead of like taking it all serious and stuff like that, I just have fun. Because, like, naturally, having fun, like, it can bring out a lot of hard work and energy in you because you're doing something you enjoy. That's why it's harder for you to push yourself whenever you're stressed out and you're grinding, because, like, bro, like, it's just not it, alright? That's what I'm trying to say. But just don't get too caught up in what other people are saying. Like, if that works for you and you think it's making you better, do it. But, if you're experiencing similar things to me and you are waiting on this, like, kind of breakthrough, just kind of realize there is no true breakthrough. You have it in you all along. That's why you're probably still in this. What you need to do, though, is you need to allow yourself to be a human and get some rest. That way, you can be able to perform at whatever you want to, enjoy in. But just don't be no robot. And don't expect yourself to always adhere to other people's standards. Social media is a trick. And why do you think so many people are... all those mindset coaches who tell you to wake up early and all those, like, those hard dudes, like, hey yo, but, like, those people who wake up cold plunges are tough on the outside. Why do you think they're telling you to do all this? Because when you feel lost doing that, they sell you their product. Why do you think so many self-help coaches have a book? They're pushing that product. That thing that they do, it creates a problem for you. It may make you feel like you're him in the moment, but long term, it'll just cause more trouble. It's like, bro, it's the same thing as doctors. Like, they're pushing products that give you the stuff that they need to prescribe you to treat, right? It's the same thing on Instagram. They're just trying to trick you. Nothing's as it ever seems on social media, and don't ever get caught up on it. Everything's so fake, and I'm trying to be like a real person. I'm not pushing no product, alright? I'm not gonna sell you a self-help book, nor am I gonna sell you like a course or anything. What I'm trying to tell you, though, is that those people out there don't have your best interest in mind. They just want your money. So listen to me when I'm talking. You don't need anybody online to help you out. All those, like, testimonials those people have that they've listened to, that they're trusted people, that they're trusted sources, don't believe a thing. Because if you believe them over what you believe, you're putting somebody else's value over your own. And how does that look on your self-respect? Don't listen to it. It's a trap. And, once you start allowing yourself to be more human, not only do you start to dominate in that field of just whatever you want to do or whatever you enjoy, but your life just starts to get better because you can start to apply it to other things, right? Because what you enjoy, like, those traits will rub off in your day-to-day life. So, just don't get too caught up in trying to be a bot or just trying to be something you're not. Like, I guarantee you, you're good enough to not need any of those extra practices or like early wake ups or anything like that. It can sound misconflicting at first, and it can sound like a big risk to take, but just try it, and maybe you'll see.